Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema. In the week that it seems that smaller films have finally realized, hang on a second, if there's no blockbusters in the cinema, My name is Tosin and I'm the host and I'm based up in the UK, somewhere near Birmingham. Joining me as always on the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bolland.
Hello.
And also on the Isle of Wight is Sean Harris.
Hello.
Our own very Hollywood doppelganger. And joining us from London, a London correspondent, looking very News-nighty, if I say so.
I was going to say, that's what I was trying to think. I said, you look like a correspondent, like some serious newscaster that's going to say, wow.
You got everything. Even down to the lapels. The lapels. You got the pen. You got the glasses going.
I've got the pearls.
Yeah, yeah. It's all very Fiona Bruce, but it's not Fiona.
What I'm going for.
You even got the cheeky pen bite going. Look at that. But it is not Fiona Bruce. It is Holly Nesling joining us from London.
Hello.
And after weeks, now the way I set it up this book, it feels like the last couple of weeks we've come onto this show and we have lamented, we have cried, we have decried the fact that there is nothing to see in the cinema. We've had like a month of hardly anything to watch. Cineworld, Sharon and I spoke about it last week. Cineworld came on and said that, we're going to administration because nobody's releasing any films. And this seems to be the week in which Hollywood decided to bite back. But it does seem to be the smaller films that have finally realized that if there's no blockbuster taking up all the oxygen, maybe somebody will go watch a smaller film. So we have a whole bunch of films, none of which I don't think ever had any designs on being a blockbuster, that are now there in cinema for us to watch. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about my analysis?
Yeah, I think it was noticeable. I think when I walked down the cinema yesterday to watch one of the films on our to be reviewed list, I noticed all the posters. None of them were for the huge blockbusters that you'd expect. No. The whole corridor was lined with small, like Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris,
and a double spread on their posters. And I was like, when does that happen? That a sort of small British film bits.
And
takes
then
up half the corridor.
Yeah, it does. There's another one, isn't there, with Ralph Fiennes in or whatever that is. I don't know.
Yes, I think that on Twitter.
The Forgiven. The
Forgiven, that's it. Yeah, and a few other things. But like you say, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. That's right in your face, isn't it? Really, you can't really miss that Mary Poppins almost picture.
You see. And I personally, we're going to get a little bit philosophical before we start actually reviewing films. This is the kind of stuff that only people who listen to the audio podcast get. None of those YouTube fancy people who only have an attention span of 5 minutes. No, they don't get this. Only people who download this stuff and listen get. We should put like little messages in these sections so we find out who actually listens to the podcast and who just watches highlights on YouTube. But yeah, this is where we get a little bit philosophical. And I actually quite like this idea. I like this idea of there being smaller films and you go to the cinema to discover stuff because there's hardly anything on. And I was looking, because all of a sudden this week we've had like this influx of smaller films that have all gone to the cinema, and I was looking for and last week Sharon and I we put some films off to this week so we would actually have a Netflix versus cinema as opposed to just a Netflix and Friends thing. I was looking to next week and I was thinking, what's actually on? And I saw this film called Fall, and I was like, I have never heard of this film. I did not know anything that was going to happen with this film. But you know what? I'm going to watch it because it's in the cinema. and I love that idea because I remember it used to be a time you used to go to the cinema to just, without really knowing what a film was about, just to find out, it's on the cinema, I'm going to go watch it. But now, because of everything, you end up just, pretty much, you watch the trailer, you have the whole film before you actually go and watch the film. And I was like, I was loving the idea of these smaller films going in there and you just get to go to cinema and sit down and watch stuff without really knowing much about it. And I think that would be brilliant. If that's an outcome of what happened through COVID, I think that would be a good outcome.
My slight worry is there's a film coming in July next year called Oppenheimer.
Yes.
And I'm already seeing posters, and I've even seen like 2 teaser trailers. Now my big fear is, because there is a dearth of massive blockbuster films, we are going to get this drip of, like, when there are massive films coming, we are going to get months and months of drip, drip, drip teasers about it until we're just fed up at the sight of it. Because if I've got another 10 months of looking at the same teasers of having another little snippet shown, I'm going to be over the film before we even get to it.
It's funny that because that teaser trailer for Oppenheimer, I just can't help thinking it just reminds me so much of Peaky Blinders. I don't know why. I think it just
it's Cillian Murphy. Is the Cillian Murphy of the whole
It's
thing.
Cillian Murphy, who I'm not. I got to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Cillian Murphy movies. I've never really been.
Don't worry, Sean. We've put him on the shelf with Stanley Tucci and Woody Harrelson.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Great actors that Sean cannot stand.
I just don't understand why you can't cope with Stanley Tucci. He's wonderful. Just weird.
Let's not start this. Let's not start this. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna accept it that Stanley Tucci and Sean. And the funny thing is, I reckon that if you met up in real life, you'll probably be really good friends. But as an actor,
is Jared Leto not on the list?
I quite liked his Joker. But a lot of people didn't like his. A lot of people didn't like his Joker. I quite liked him personally as a Joker, but I didn't like him as Morbius.
You see now Jared Leto is weird because there was a time when I thought he was really good. Like Fight Club, Requiem for a Dream, all the way up to Dallas Buyers Club. I was like, I actually thought the guy, for someone who started off on, people were trying to sort of pigeonhole him as a pretty boy actor. I was like, he's actually got quite a bit of stuff about him. He's actually a really good actor. But it seems to me he won the Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. And that seems to be the watershed where almost everything he's done after Dallas Buyers Club, I find annoying and self-involved. So Morbius I thought was stupid. His performance in House of Gucci is, I mean, I'm not Italian, so I can't say, but it's possibly a hate crime against Italians. I mean, it just seems like after it's I'm not sure whether this is just the narrative in my own head, but it seems that after he got the Oscar, he became full of himself, and almost every performance that he gives is him showing you how it reeks of him being full of himself. So I wouldn't say I don't like Jared Leto. He wouldn't turn me off, although it is getting close to if he's in the film or if he's in a TV show, it makes me not want to watch it. But
can I ask Holly, has she got a particular actor that she's not keen on who's quite popular? Sharon, have you got anybody?
I think Tom Cruise, I have to say, I
can understand that. I can really dig that. I can dig
that.
Yeah, I can understand that arrogant, pompous.
It used to be fine, but just everything. One of the Mission Impossibles is the only film I've ever walked out of in the cinema. No, first film I'd ever walked out of. The second one hadn't even started. That was Uncharted, and that was because there were too many children without masks in there. But we literally left one of the Mission Impossibles because we were bored.
I'm going to which one? Oh, you see now I would. If I had to guess, I would put money on either 2 or 3.
No, I think it was the last one.
The last one. Okay, cool. I also support that. I thought that was a massively overrated film.
Is that the one with the helicopter bit in there?
That's the one with the helicopter bit at the end.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
I'm going to say
agree.
But I haven't seen any of them.
No,
I don't know. Okay. I think we've all decided that Mission Impossible. That's the thing. But as I said last week, meet Ricky Gervais. Can't stand him. But let us get onto the film.
Great.
Yeah, so let us get onto the films that we're talking about this week. So in cinema, we have Beast. Who saw Beast? I saw Beast.
I saw Beast.
Oh, so Sean and I have seen Beast. These are all the smaller films that are competing for your dollar, and we are happy that they have at least had the guts to get into a cinema this week. Okay, and Fisherman's Friends, one and all. Who's seen that?
I've seen Fisherman's Friends.
And I have seen Fisherman's Friends.
All right, cool. Bodies. Who saw that?
We saw that. We saw that.
Okay,
we saw that.
Sharon and Sean have seen that, and you cannot see the expressions right now. But it seems like Sharon and Sean have been scarred by that. But Bodies probably has another actor that I'll put on the list of people who I find difficult to watch. But then we have The Invitation, and who has seen that?
That's me.
That's Sean. All right, cool. So let us kick off with Beast. Let's kick off with Beast because, as I said, we have a bit of a bumper show this week because all of a sudden the smaller films have realized that cinemas exist and that there are no blockbusters in them, which means that they might actually get some eyes on them. So, Beast, this is the definition of a creature feature. Would you agree, Sean?
Yes, yeah, to a degree. To a good degree, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
To a degree.
So at the beginning, you're introduced to Idris Elba, who plays a doctor called Nate from America, who is visiting South Africa with his two daughters. His wife, who is now deceased, was from South Africa, and he was taking he's taking his daughters to sort of like go back and connect with the land where the mother was from. They go out into the middle. They fly into a place, go into Polokwane, and then they go into like I'm not sure which area of South Africa Polokwane is in, but this is kind of like you're talking sort of remote. You're talking almost deserty and all that, and you talk about where people have like they have a friend who's played by Shalto Copley of District 9 fame, he's like a gameskeeper, who is like a games warden of this nature reserve, and he picks them up, takes them to his remote house, and as the film goes on, you start realizing that all of a sudden that there's a lion that's attacking people. And Shalto Copley walks around going, hang on a second, because he's friends, he said he's friends with lions. Like, he's raised some of them up. He's naturalist. He knows all the lions on the place. And he knows that, okay, that this lion is attacking people as a result of poachers doing something to the lion's pride. And, I mean, it's a creature feature, so you can imagine what happens. It's called Beast. The lion's the beast. You have Idris Elba and two daughters. What's going to happen? Lion's going to end up stalking them. That's the film. And then that is essentially your storyline. We're going to go on from here and we're going to see stuff. Sure. Holly, I guess you're going to tell me which area Polokwane is in.
And I've been there loads. It's in northern South Africa, and it used to be called Petersburg.
Is it KwaZulu-Natal?
It must be KwaZulu-Natal
Okay.
South.
Okay, cool.
Either way, it's fairly near to the border with Zimbabwe. It's the first place to stop to sleep once you've come through Bike Bridge.
All right, cool. Good stuff. So that is basically the setup of the film. Sean, what did you think?
Okay, well, yeah. What did we think? Put it this way: it was sort of as the narrative went on, and quite early in the film, and there's something we were talking about the Ranger, and it's like, okay, well, so I basically figured the ending sort of maybe 10 minutes into the movie. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I thought the Ranger, through the movie, he's very knowledgeable, knows all about the stuff, and I think he did how anal I am when it comes to being like doing silly stuff, and I just don't think he would have done certain things, and I don't think some of the characters would have done certain things. I think they would have been more, shall we say, sensible, But then it was, if they didn't do it, then there wouldn't have been so much of a story, I guess. So, the action was pretty good, and I tried to be forgiving. I thought, okay, they're trying to make a movie. I'm not going to be too too harsh on this because of those particular things. You know what I'm talking about, Toast,
No, I know what you're talking about. And I also know. I think I also know what you're talking about, as in trying not to be too harsh on them, because this is the kind of film. It's a smaller film. We sometimes say you don't get a lot of those films coming out anymore. We've been complaining about not enough films in cinema. There's this film that's actually been made and is in cinemas, and so you were like, you want to support this film. You want to applaud the fact that they've made this film, especially. And I'm not sure if you noticed this, but there's a scene. I think the scene you're talking about early on, where they meet a lion, they meet a pride of lions. And there's a scene where after a while it became really obvious to me that all the lions were computer generated.
Yes. I agree with you on that.
There's one particular scene where the way something moves, I'm like, oh, none of those lions are there. They are very photorealistic. You can see they've used the same technology as they used in the Lion King remake. It's very photorealistic. But there was one particular scene where, because a lot of the shots in this film are done in one shots. Like we get out of the car and we just like, there's no cuts or anything like that, and he goes and he plays with the lions and they're done in one shot, and you can see they're showing off here and they're trying to show off the technology that, oh look, we can make real looking lions. And it's they were. But when you talk about the decisions people make in this film, I remember growing up in Nigeria and watching American films, and we watch a disaster movie, and a lot of the films that we watch just made us think, okay, that's it. Jury's out. Americans are stupid because they would keep doing stupid things in these films. You're like, what? There's a sound in a bush. Yeah. Why are you walking towards it? Everybody knows that there's a sound in a bush. You run in the opposite direction.
Why are you walking upstairs and not switching the light on?
Exactly. Why are you trying to run away from somebody and you're running upstairs where there is no way of getting out of the house? And it's like, and And there's bits in this film. Where, sure, I totally get what you're saying. There's bits in this film that they are decisions that the characters make that I'm thinking, oh my god, okay, this is movie logic, and the only reason you are doing that is because you are in a film. And if you don't do that, the running time of this film will be half an hour. Yeah. But the reason you're doing that is because you're in a film. Why are you doing? And there's one bit, right, and essentially, Sean, I was watching this film and I was just, I was like, this is the film that will turn anybody into Sean, because the number of times in this film where I found myself just going, why would you do that? I found myself going, why would you do that? And there's bits where they go to great lengths to talk about, oh, this is the way, like, lions work and everything like that. And then the shot, a couple of characters like, oh no, this is not the way lions do and everything like, but they never give an explanation for why all of a sudden this lion is acting out of character. And they never. It's just kind of like, well, the lion's acting out of character because we need a film and we need I mean, the good thing about it is that the film is 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes, and it gives you it tries to give you a thrill ride for 90 minutes, and I feel like they're almost hoping that you are not going to examine it like we are right now.
Yes.
Because if you're showing up for this thing, the film's called Beast, and if you showed up and there wasn't a beast and it wasn't attacking people, you would feel a bit shortchanged. So I think that that's what they're hoping for. That's what I think that they're going for in this film, and
I'm annoyed by this already, though, because there are actual reasons why that would happen that are genuine reasons that could be provided.
Well, they try and give a reason, because there is a sort of subplot, so to say, about poachers and about how poachers are now going after wildlife in South Africa, and there's a subplot about that kind of goes somewhere. It's really just sort of like it's a setup for a set piece. It's a setup for a set piece, and then the way that they do it, they're kind of trying to do the whole thing about, oh, this isn't really, the animal's fault and everything. But then the way the film ends and when they take everything, you're like, what? And Sean, I agree with you. There's a bit about 10 minutes in that once they tell you this, you know exactly how this film is going to end. You just know. It's kind of, Sean, you talk about Chekhov's gun every now and then, that if there's a gun in scene 1, it's going to go off by scene 3. And this does this to, like, they just, it's like they drop all these little things. There's even a bit in the film where one of the daughters wears a Jurassic Park t-shirt, and I'm looking at it, and it's as if they're kind of going, yeah, that's the kind of film we're going to be making. And I think more to the case is not so much Jurassic Park as it is Jurassic World, and there's an explanation for what happens in Jurassic World that I feel is similar to what happens in this film. But anyway, that's besides the by. The big question is, how many stars would we give this?
Well, personally speaking, as I say, I'm going to be really forgiving because I think it was just made film for a little bit of a thrill ride. Yeah, it wasn't too long, which was really good. That, they didn't pan it out. It rolled along at a fairly decent pace, and so I'm not going to be too. I didn't mind it too much, so I'm going to give this one a 3-star. Yeah,
I would agree with you. I would give it a 3, and I don't think we're being too generous. I don't think we're being too generous, but they are. But be warned, if you're going to see it, there's going to be a lot of "why would you do that" going around your head. It was like, what? Why would you do that? Like there's a bit, okay, and there's bits where I feel like it does cross its own rules. Like where it says, okay, if we stick this in the lion, that should give us a couple of hours, and then it doesn't really happen, and they never explain why it doesn't happen. You're just supposed to think this is, but never mind. Anyway, let us move on. Lions
attack people usually because they're old and they're sick and they can't catch anything else. That's just usually the reason.
Well, yeah, this lion does a little bit more than attack people. As I said, I think the if you mix Jaws with Jurassic World, you probably get this film. I think that there's similarities in both of those. But anyway,
that's a morality story in there.
Yeah. So 3 stars for Beast. Now let's move on and let us go on to Disney Plus and Disney Plus's offerings. Now I reviewed Only Murders in the Building season 1, which was sometime last year. This was Steve Martin shot. What's her name? Selena Gomez. Yeah, Selena Gomez walking around doing a whodunit with a podcast with like a mystery being solved and everything. The way season 1 ended let you know that there was a season 2 coming. This is the season 2, 10 episodes. I haven't seen any of them, but Holly, you've picked up the slack. You've seen them. Tell us about Only Murders in the Building season 2.
So we begin with,
as spoiler free as possible.
As spoiler free as possible. We begin with, I think this is probably not giving away too much, a murder in the building. I think we're probably good with that. A resident of the building we saw at the end of the last series had been found by Selena Gomez somewhere unexpected, very much dying in somewhat mystifying circumstances.
And this is one of these old school like New York apartment buildings, like you can imagine was probably built with the Rockefellers in like the 20s or something.
And you actually, in this one, you get some of the history of the building and where it's come from, as this adds some of the twists and turns to it. So the principle is they continue their podcast of Only Murders in the Building, which is offset with Only Murderers in the Building being the other podcast.
That sounds interesting.
It's another podcast done by a Tina Fey character that's making a podcast about these guys making a podcast.
Oh my God. It has a touch of fourth wallness to it in itself, I suppose. It's so they go off and investigate this, and it becomes apparent to them that too many things seem to be pointing towards their involvement in the latest murder, and they can't understand why this would be the case and who or why they is setting them up, and they are being set up. Along the way, we continue with Martin Short, who is a former director, supporting his son, who is directing a school play, insofar as I can remember. And Steve Martin returning to his, as a retired actor, returning to his previous character, Bravo. The detective, where, and I think I'm going to risk giving this bit away, it turns out in the reboot he is not the main character. And it gets even better, I think, and I'm going to chance this giveaway. He has dementia and is in a wheelchair. So his return to the screen has not gone quite as he would want. And Selena Gomez is an artist, and she is branching out into her art and in meeting new people within the art world. And you have these three sort of personal storylines that are running along their ongoing investigation into who committed the murder and why they're being framed. It is an absolutely delightful program to watch. I don't have a better word than delightful. They're just, the characters are a treat. The wider cast and all of the characters who live in the building are a joy. They're all quirky and likable and loathable simultaneously. And you just, at the end of each episode, it just makes you smile. It has brought me great joy watching it, and I think it's left opening up that there is a possibility of another series.
Oh, there's definitely another series. It's been announced. It's been announced that there's probably there's going to be a season 3 and possibly a season 4.
Oh.
So essentially, all what they're saying is, don't live in this building. Don't live in this building. It's a bit like Murder, She Wrote, where there's Jessica Fletcher. Did she kill all those people? But it's like
don't live in Midsummer.
That's it. I was going to say, there's people. The thing is, I used to say this like Christmas. I know this is a thing, but it's like EastEnders. There's so much misery and grief that goes on in that place. Why on earth would you? You'd want to get out of there, wouldn't you?
I always used to think with EastEnders, every Christmas somebody dies.
It was, it's just like, not that I ever watched it, but the couple I did see, but always just seen doom and gloom and horrible stuff, and I'd be like, I want to get the hell out of there.
Get out of Walford. So okay, so Only Murders in the Building. I mean, I think you're pretty much saying a lot of the stuff that I said with season 1. And I think this seems like Martin Short and Steve Martin and those two they're like friends. They've been friends forever, and it feels like this is old school Hollywood people getting together and having fun in the best possible way.
Yes.
Because I mean, often we always talk about sometimes the Hollywood gets together and they do stuff, but it feels really self-indulgent, like they're in on the joke and nobody else is. But I feel like this is them, everybody bringing along everyone for. I mean, this is me talking about season 1 and just my feelings about the show in general. And it's great to hear that it sounds like they carried out into season 2. But importantly, this has to come down to hard maths. Enough about fuzzy feelings. How many stars?
I'm giving it 4.
A 4. A 4 for Only Murders in the Building season 2.
I would love to give it 5, but I think that would probably be unfair, but I can't quite explain why.
Yeah,
I feel like it needs to be a 4, but it is still one of my favourite things.
I mean,
so happy.
The truth is that it's kind of like it's like an Agatha Christie sort of homage, quite frankly. It's an Agatha. I think every single murder trope. This you can tell this is a show that's made by people that love murder mysteries. They love murder mysteries. They know what's silly about them. They know what's great about them, and it's like a homage to it. So I always find it very hard to give an homage a 5 because, well, if Agatha Christie hadn't written anything, you wouldn't have anything to do to homage. But it's But I think I kind of understand what you're talking about there.
It's a delight. It's a film of people a series of people who are clearly happy to be doing it and are enjoying doing it.
Yep. All right.
And that's a joy to watch.
All right, and now let us fire back over to cinema. Fire back over to cinema in this whistle-stop tour through everything that they've thrown at us this week. Thank you, cinema, for giving us stuff to talk about. And Fisherman's Friends, one and all, is the next one that we're going to talk about. Sharon, would you like to take us away?
Yes, this is a sequel to the 2019 film, I believe, called Fisherman's Friends, and it is broadly or loosely based on real events. There is a band from St Ives, I believe it is, called Port Isaac's Fisherman's Friends, and they were formed in the village and they sang sea shanties together. They were noticed, and then they were offered a record deal, and then they became a bit of a phenomena for a while. But since then they have been around for a while. And this is a sequel to the unexpected success, I think, of Fisherman's Friends, and it's called Fisherman's Friends One and All. And it basically sees, I would describe it when I was talking to Sean about this when we saw it together. You could almost say it was like that difficult second album.
Yes.
And the film is about the difficult second album. They've had their first album, they've had the success, and things aren't going so well for the Fisherman's Friends or the members of it. One of the key events of the first film was the death of a parent of one of the singers, who happened to also be part of the band. And he's just lost his sort of joy for singing and his joy for being part of Fisherman's Friends. And he has become on this descent to like self-destructiveness. And that is the character played by James Purefoy. And much of the film is about him, basically. It's about his journey through almost like the breaking up of the band, because he's lost that passion for it, because it was through his dad, basically, that he had found his love of singing, his love of performing. And so you see his life in crisis, and then it also draws in the story of the Fisherman's Friends, how they move on with their lives, having been so successful that people in the street take photographs of them, and that they are asked to advertise fish fingers and things like that. So it's that conflict between them doing what they love and then life intruding, and then them trying to find a way through. So without going into specifics, that's broadly it. It's the troublesome second album, and how do you follow up that success of the first?
So I mean, everything that you're saying there makes it sound like it could actually be applied to the film, like the troublesome second film, because the first one seemed to be like quite well received, and then they're now this I don't watch the first one, but this feels like a sequel that's trying to squeeze every last bit of money from the concept. Do they pull it off, Sean?
Okay, well, for me, I haven't seen the first one, so I mean, I'm like you, Toes, and I never saw the first one, so I was quite interested in this. For me, I don't know. I personally speaking, I some of the acting I felt a bit sort of I wasn't convincing. Maybe is there? I don't know, Sharon. Maybe is there some characters that maybe were in the real, or were they all actors?
No, they're all actors.
They're all actors, yeah. So I wasn't convinced with a few of
Sure,
the.
it's like in that case, no excuse.
you
In
know,
the first film, you do see the real Fisherman's Friends. They have a pub quiz, and they're in the background. So when I went to see it with my brother, I went like, "Oi, there they are," because they're all that the different teams are all members of the Fisherman's Friends.
Yeah.
So you do see the real guys in the first film.
I thought the some of the scenery was really nice to see. I think what it was I was expecting an upbeat film, but perhaps I was expecting, like loads of old she-shan, 50 men on a dead man's chest and all that. And maybe I was expecting it to be a singy song, but like Sharon said, this was very much a bit of a downer, really. I thought, it was like, for me personally, I'm not saying it's a bad movie or anything like that. It's just that I wasn't enamored with it. It didn't really appeal to me. And I felt it was a little bit too long as well, but maybe that was... Maybe it was expectations. Yeah,
because some of the key elements in this film are dealing with grief, how you deal with that, and dealing with not overnight success because they've been singing a long time, but suddenly beginning in the public eye. So it was there was these sort of somber notes to it. But I agree with Sean. I mean, I liked the first film. But this one, you just wanted them to sing.
Yes,
it's like, we're here for the Fisherman's Friends. Really.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
We want to hear a bit more. And they started to sing. Then they'd only sing like a verse and a chorus, and then it would like cut to the drama, and it'd be like, just give us a song.
Yeah, yes.
And I feel one of the characters, I'm trying to think his name. He was the Welsh guy, Morgan, and he is a brilliant actor, and he literally was introduced as this extra fisherman's friend, and he Richard Harrington, great actor in all sorts of things, but he barely got a word in.
No, that's it.
I thought completely wasted. And it really was James Purfoy's film, which isn't a bad thing, because I do like James Purfoy. But I felt that as a Fisherman's Friends film, you want to hear them singing.
Yeah. I would have liked that.
It's not a spoiler, because it says it, I think it's in the trailer. They do go to Glastonbury, and it's like another subtitle of the film could be The Road to Glastonbury. But that is almost like just tacked on the end. The film isn't really about that. You do see them at Glastonbury, but it isn't about the journey. It's like a personal one of this man's journey through his grief and his sort of learning to live with that and learning to find new ways of coping with his circumstances. And it's his journey, not the journey of the Fisherman's Friends to Glastonbury. So I feel like it was almost slightly misleading to call it a Fisherman's Friends film, and it's really about one man's journey through navigating his way through life without someone he loved.
Right. So, Sharon, I'd like to say thank you very much for the public service you've just done in teaching me how to pronounce his last name, because all these years I have been saying Purifoy. So, Purifoy, never realized that never even crossed. I was just saying Purifoy. All right, cool. But how many stars would you guys give this?
I'd give it a 3. I thought I liked it. There's lots to like about it because of its somber note, but it didn't quite deliver what you really wanted, which was the Fisherman's Friends singing shanties. Yeah. So I would give it a 3.
Yeah, I'd agree with Sharon. I think I was expecting quite a few, because there was only probably 1 or 2 actual shanties until Glastonbury that were actually in the whole film. So it probably disappointed me a little bit, but it's not that bad that it deserves a 2. So I'll have to give it a 3 as well. So I'll give it a 3 as well.
We're gonna have to wait for Fisherman's Friends the musical, Sean.
Okay.
And then we might get that. All right, cool. And now we go back to Netflix and Friends, and this is actually on Netflix. And I'm going to talk about Untold. Now, Untold is, and when I wrote this on the WhatsApp group to you guys, I wrote Untold : ... Because Untold is a series, and it's a series we have established on this show that the thing Netflix does well, and the thing that Netflix needs to stand out from all the other streaming things, is documentaries. And documentaries, we spoke, Sharon, you reviewed a Netflix documentary and Trainwreck last week, and we said, okay, Netflix does documentaries and they do good documentaries. This is a documentary series, but it's all about sporting things. It's all about sporting stories. So and each one of them is it's a film in its own right. The way they go about it is it's a film in its own right. So I am going to attempt to I'm not going to talk about all of them because they've released a whole bunch of new ones. But the one that I love the most is one called Breaking Point, which is all about tennis because you guys know I'm a big tennis fan, and it's about Marty Fish and like the mental things that he had, and that's the one I really wanted to talk about. But then I started thinking, what do people actually want to hear? And the second I started imagining myself reviewing a documentary about tennis, I could see Sean's eyes glazing over.
No. It's okay. All sports are doing. No,
So yeah, I can see Sean's eyes glazing over. So looking at all of them, there's two of them that I reckon that you would actually would like. There's one called Malice at the Palace, which is about a massive fight that broke out between I've forgotten the name of the two teams. But it was two basketball teams, two NBA teams. Ooh. Sean, do you know what team did Reggie Miller play for?
I don't offhand. I'm afraid.
He wasn't the Detroit Pistons, but the team that Reggie Miller played for. And it's about how there was this one season where they were going to actually get the NBA. They looked like they were going to go for the NBA title. And there was this one massive brawl that derailed the whole season. That started off with a paper cup that got thrown onto one of their players. And it's a forensic thing of what happened that night. So Untold, Malice at the Palace. I think you would like that one. But the
Indiana Pacers.
Indiana Pacers. That's it.
Indiana Pacers.
It was the Indiana
Never heard
Pacers.
of them.
Yeah, and they were playing against there was a player called Ron Artest who was had a bit of a short fuse, and there is pathos, there is incident, and what happened from this one event, how it went on to affect these people's lives, because from being touted for the championship, the fact that they never won the championship, brilliant storytelling. But the one that I think that you would like the most, because this is the one that's structured like a film, is called Untold, Crime and Penalties. And this is about, so you know the NHL, so the NHL, the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
There's a level below the NHL, and it's about this guy who has money, and everybody thought, how on earth does he have this money? He might be a little bit dodgy, but he was from this town somewhere, I think it's in New York State, and he was from this town, so everybody just sort of left the guy alone and didn't ask too many questions. And for his son's 18th birthday, he buys his son the local hockey team. So his 18-year-old son becomes the
owner.
The owner, the chairman. He gets to build a team, and his 18-year-old son is running this whole thing. And it becomes this whole, honestly, this thing is like a Scorsese movie. Wow. Almost all the characters are like Scorsese characters from Goodfellas. They have names like Scorsese characters from Goodfellas. They also like talking. They end up calling them the Danville Trashers. The name of the team is the Danville Trashers because they run the local trash disposal thing. They run they have all the trash trucks. They pick up all the stuff from different places. There's like a little bit of organized crime going on in there, and the FBI get involved and everything like that. But they go through this whole, and what I love about Untold as a series of sports documentaries is they go into forensic details of what did this team mean to the people within the town, because this town had nothing going on. This town was kind of like, was like a backwater, nothing going on. It's the kind of place where you have the shopping mall shuts down and then everybody's out of a job. It's that kind of place. And it's kind of down. And the only thing that was good in this town, the only thing that was holding people up in this town was this hockey team, and how people would go there and all the opposition hated going to this team, and they bring all the players back and they interview the players. There's these two twin brothers who were both them. There's one player who only has one eye. There's all sorts of stuff. So it's just characters up the wazoo talking about this team and how this team fell apart because it ended up being part of an FBI investigation, because it seems that it was bought with mob money, essentially. And so yes, Sean.
I was going to say, how long are the episodes?
Each one of them is about an hour.
Oh, right, okay. Cool.
I think some might be over. Some of them might be over an hour. But the stories, I think the storytelling in Untold is brilliant. I think it is brilliant, and it goes and tells you these sports stories that you might not have. And each one of them, I look at them. There's one of them called "Ride with the Devil." It's about a female boxer and about what she was actually going through. What she was actually going through at home while she was having all this success and what was going on in the background and all that. There's one about Caitlyn Jenner, which is the only one that was originally where I didn't watch, because personally I think too much noise is made about Caitlyn Jenner. So yeah, but I think it's great. I would, and if I was going to recommend one to watch, Sean, I think Untold, Crime and Punishment, because I think you'd like, but also Malice at the Palace. I think those two. So I'm trying not to review the whole thing. I'm trying to review each, but the one I would put forward to sort of like is Crime and Punishment is the most like a film. It's like Goodfellas, honestly.
Toes, what I should try and do sometime is I should try and catch up with it, and we can do one of our episode by episode things.
Episode by episode for Untold.
I'll try to.
But be warned, they've released more.
Oh, right, okay.
they've just released more. There's one of them, The Rise and Fall of And One, which I am actually quite interested because I remember And One being a massive brand, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, and I'm like, where the hell did that go? And they have one that's a two-parter one that's called The Girlfriend Who Disappeared, about an American football college star who had this whole season where he was talking about how what was inspiring was the fact that his girlfriend had died on the eve of the season, and the girlfriend didn't exist. So, yeah. So it's like, you see, okay, now from all your faces, what I'm seeing from that is these people know how to give you a good hook.
Yes.
To make you go, I want to actually watch that. So Untold, I would give it a 4. I would give Untold Crime and Punishment a 4 out of 5 for that. Now we go back to cinemas. And we go to a film that I'm probably looking forward to more than any of the other cinema things we have this week. And this is Bodies. Now, okay, Sharon, I can see the will to live draining from your eyes. But before the will totally disappears, tell us about this film, and then Sean can come in with his baseball bat.
Okay. Oh boy. Well, Bodies was bad. The premise is a group of useless young people are having a hurricane party. A part of this group of people are very wealthy, and they have these big gated homes with like swimming pools, land, big mansion-y type house. And they have this party there to sit out a hurricane. And they're going to use that as an excuse to get drunk and high and
generally
get cavort. And they're going to, all sort of crash out there in this mansion and watch the storm pass. And so they all get there, and there's mainly girls. There's 2 men. One of them is a much older sort of boyfriend of one of the parties, and one of them is like the host of this party. And then there's is it 5 women? 4 or 5 women?
5, I think. 5.
You
women. Are so toxic right now. That's in the trailer, by the
way. So they gather in this party, and then because of they will have like the rioters, romping about in the swimming pool and getting drunk, and then as it quietens down and the storm comes in, they decide, let's play a game. One of the games is called Bodies, and basically, I can't remember how it started, but anyway, one person is nominated to be the victim. And then when they don't know who the murderer is, but all the lights go out. Then the person who is like touched on the back has to pretend to die. And then the others have to work out who killed them. And then this is like the start of basically there is a real death in the house. And then they will basically sort of start turning on each other, trying to work out who actually killed this person. And then the rest of the film is stupid people doing stupid things.
I think the game might be called Bodies in America, but I've also heard it called Mafia.
But, I think you should play a game similar called Murder in the Dark. That's what we used to call it. Murder in the Dark.
We played sort of similar things without, obviously real people dying.
Yes.
There's also a version of it in Only Murders in the Building this time in series.
Oh right, okay.
Which sounds like it's done way better than here.
In this
basically,
film,
the film is people just doing stupid things, and I got to the point halfway through the film when a gun appears, and I said to Sean, I wish they'd just shoot them all let's get out of here.
How many times? That's what I was just going to say. How many times did me and Sharon look at each other like that? We looked at each other. Sharon was sat there, and it was like, what? And she said to me, she looked at me, and she said, I wish they'd shoot everybody. I was just
put us out of our misery.
This was I'll tell you what, I was like, we were horrified, really. We were waiting to go. We even looked at each other. I think at one point we were thinking, no, we must suffer this. We must suffer this because it's just got to be reviewed on the thing.
When it gets down to like 3 people, we're thinking, surely it can't go on much longer. Surely they'll just kill each other and then we can just go.
I think, but what is the strangest thing? When I went to see, I was talking to it about, because I went to get an ice cream when I went to the cinema, and I was talking to one of the young lads. He went, "Oh, I rather like that." So I think it might be.
Yeah, it might be
a generational thing. I'm pretty certain that if you're of a certain generation, that I don't know what they call it now, X, Y, W, W,
Z.
or whatever, or Z.
Young.
But young, that's it. Yeah, the Y generation, young. But because the language, the stuff they use, everything, and it's just like it was. Anyway, yeah.
And there's certain things like the life of their phones. That all of them seem to use their phones for everything.
Yeah, how long do those
and I'm
batteries
thinking
last?
the battery life on their phones must be just limitless, because
That's it.
if I run around using my torch, my phone is dead within about half an hour. Yeah. And these ones have up there. It's like the film lasted overnight, so it was like 12 hours later. So they're still using their phones. I'm like, what charge have you got on?
And then the end, like at the end when they find a phone, it's like, oh right, okay, that's rather convenient, you know. Unlocked phone. But anyway, there you go.
Sharon, perhaps the whole film was just sort of like, a really elaborate backdoor advert for the phone, and saying, Sharon, buy this phone because you can look for a murderer all night.
Product placement.
Yeah, all of them had the heavy phones that never seem to wear down or go ping, 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 or no signal. They always seem to be fully charged all the whole time. But it just did, to me, the whole plot just didn't make any sense. The people do things but they think that perhaps
that is what young people do. Perhaps young people do that sort of thing. Maybe
perhaps people they are.
Oh no! Should I not allowed to say that?
No. Do you remember there was a time when Mel Gibson was coming up with he was having one of his comebacks, and he did a film. I can't remember what the name of the film was, but he had a daughter in it, and he had a daughter, and it was all about him trying to save his daughter, trying to hold it. And I remember watching this film and saying, I don't understand. I can't believe that she would be that with a phone. And Sean, you were like, no, but Toast, that's what they're like. I've got a teenage daughter at home. That's exactly what they do. I remember you telling me that. So, but I do think, because we're looking at the cast for this film, and especially I was talking about actors who kind of put me off. And this has Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson is the owner of the house and is the host of the party that you said. And the second that you cast Pete Davidson, I feel I know exactly what this film is. And I know exactly who the target audience of this film is. And I don't think it's me.
No, I think it was probably aimed at like a Jackass type audience.
We didn't really know.
Might find it funny because people were saying, is it, because I was speaking to someone at the cinema as well, and they were saying, oh, is it because you didn't get the humour? I didn't find the Remolator's bit funny.
There was no humour.
I didn't see any obvious humour in it.
It's a bit like, I'll tell you what, this film made me think a little bit of, there's a TV show called Euphoria. I'm not sure if any of you have ever watched an episode of Euphoria that has been winning all the awards and has been getting so much love, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's one of the best things ever. Can't stand it. I watched one episode and I thought, oh, is that it? And I just left, and I have not gone back. And I feel like there's one of these things where there's every now and then. I mean, we reviewed Raw a couple of weeks ago, in which I was like, Holly, come help me out here because I'm a man and I don't think I can speak about this appropriately. And I feel like, and I think we're beginning to get to that where there might be some stuff I may need to go say, okay, get a young person in here, explain this nonsense to me. But anyway, how many stars would you guys give Bodies?
To be kind, maybe 2.
Oh, I was thinking 2. I was thinking, can we give a 1?
1
I mean,
or 2.
I would say this is the worst film I've seen this year. Yeah.
It was. I just found it was just interminable, too long, too much of everything, and not enough of something else.
Yeah. So for me personally, it's probably one of the worst films I've seen this year, I think. I mean,
so would you say it was more the plotting didn't make sense, or was it just the characters that you just couldn't attach to?
Everything. It was everything.
It was both. The plot made no sense, and the characters were universally pointless. It's one of those things. If there are survivors, and I imagine if the hurricane had destroyed the entire house, it would be no great loss.
Oh wow! Oh! Moving on.
There's one member of the cast off the top of them. I think, she's actually very good. What's going on here? What's it? Oh yes, Amanda Stenberg.
Oh yeah, Amanda Stenberg is good, and also it's got the lady who got nominated for an Oscar for being Borat's sister, Maria Balikova.
Oh yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah,
So
apparently
they've
she's.
actually got some decent people in there, and they still managed to produce an unspeakably shit film.
Yeah.
You might like it, Holly. I mean,
No,
he's
the thing
only
is,
supposed to it.
I think it's a different. It's like when you had when these comedies came along that were mostly improvised, and there were certain people who sort of really liked that, so we hated that. And you had that there was a period of film that was called Mumblecore, which was all supposed to be all a bit down and indie, and everybody just sort of like, and nothing really happened, and some people really get into that. And I think this might be that kind of film that it has a sort of milieu, to use a fancy word. It has a milieu about it that I just don't think is me. I don't think I would get, and the people who get it would think it's the best thing ever. But moving over back to streaming life and all that, and this is Apple TV Plus. Now, Holly, you already had Apple TV Plus. You are not really part of Sharon and my 5 month thing to try and get through everything on Apple TV Plus. You already had it. Although I did watch this, and I watched this as part of my 5-month thing to get through everything. Sean, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say I recently did it as well, but I haven't really watched much on it. I did the Barclay card thing because I got a Barclay card, and I haven't really seen that much. Schmigadoon, I think.
Yeah. Schmigadoon. I think you might like C, Sean. SEE. Okay. Yeah, I think you might like C.
That's what I'm planning to watch. And the Star Trek.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool.
Quite good.
Strange New Worlds is on Apple TV Plus.
Or is that on Paramount?
No, that'll be on Paramount. That'll be on Paramount Plus.
I get the two muddled up because I joined them both at the same time on a free deal.
And they all have Plus in the title. I mean, come up with something else, people. Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Apple TV, whatever. But anyway, Holly, tell us about Loot.
Okay, so Lute's lead character is called Molly Novak, and she is played by Maya Rudolph.
Yes,
legend. She is the long-standing wife of a Silicon Valley billionaire, and she lives in this wonderful, glamorous lifestyle in a palatial house with a personal Michelin-starred chef and a full coterie of maids, walk-in designer wardrobes, a wonderful personal assistant who who camps things up to high heaven and plays, the archetypal, male personal assistant with views, and she's, incredibly happy, and living this ridiculous life. She's just been given at the start. She's off on a very, very fancy speedboat to be given her birthday present, which is a giant yacht with multiple swimming pools. I mean, it's all completely ridiculous, this over the top lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then go back and are celebrating her birthday with the great and the good there, and she suddenly discovers that her husband is having an affair with his assistant.
That's trouble.
So this we've got to in the first 10 minutes. And so she promptly storms into the house and says, I want a divorce. And she gets one. There is no prenup, obviously. They've been together since, they were
in college.
She was, funding everything whilst he was building stuff in the garage. So she suddenly finds herself a multi-billionaire. I believe she starts off the film with something like the series with something like $87 billion.
$87 billion, yeah.
And it's suddenly, just goes and continues to live the high life, getting blind drunk and going to ridiculous parties and all sorts of things. And then suddenly realizes she doesn't have a purpose in life anymore. And she's suddenly received quite a lot of criticism for this, high living idiocy, and gets contacted about a foundation that she had unknowingly set up many years before. As you do, I often forget about the foundations I've just set up on the side. And she goes in to sign some papers and suddenly decides that actually she could have purpose in life by getting involved in this foundation, which works with underprivileged people to provide housing and all sorts of things. So she sort of stumbles into this with the, tone deaf approach that you would expect from somebody who's had that much money for a very long time. She tries to learn to reconnect with her with people. It turns out her cousin works there, even though she didn't actually remember he was her cousin, and by him tries to reconnect with her black family, whom she has lost all touch with. And along the way, there is a love interest and all sorts of things as she tries to figure out who she is.
Sitcom shenanigans happen.
With underlying messages of it's good to be a good person, and trying to be as good as you can in the face of insurmountable money getting in your way.
It's kind of one of these shows. It's a show that is trying to be critical about the 1%, so to say. It's trying to be critical about the 1% and be like, oh, isn't it terrible that they have all this money? But at the same time, it's almost kind of reveling in how much money these people have. Like it's kind of like, isn't it terrible these people have all this money? But there's a certain bit of it that you're watching and going, it'll be nice to have that much money. I mean, she's just taking a helicopter to lunch. I mean, what's good?
I mean, I'm feeling decadent, thinking I might get an Uber into the office in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. So what did you think of this, Holly? Or what did you think of this?
I really enjoyed it. I gave up on it when I paused for a while when I'd run out of new episodes, and then must have taken 3 or 4 weeks off, and then came back to it.
Because they're releasing one episode a week as Apple TV do. Yeah.
Which I really struggle with, obviously. Not used to this. House of the Dragon and about to be, Rings of Power. I'm going to lose my mind. No, I did need to come back to it, and there would be a point where I paused, where I thought, oh, I'm not quite sure I'm there now. But actually, I'm so glad I did go back. I found it was a really enjoyable series. Very pleased to have watched it.
All right, cool. Because and I'm gonna ask you how many stars that you give it in a second. Because I watched it and I thought it was all right. I thought it was sort of standard sitcom fare. Because it sort of turns into an Office Place sitcom because they start trying to bring in the characters in the foundation, and the more the show goes along, the more you realize it's not really about her or her ex-husband, and it's about the characters in the foundation. There's one of them who might be a love interest. There's someone played by the lady Sophia Salinas, who's played by MJ Rodriguez. Yeah, played by MJ Rodriguez is kind of like, the sort of uptight person to her fun-loving self, and there's all these things where they all try and help each other carry on with their lives. As I said, so far so sitcom-y. And the notes that it ends on, because there's this whole thing about the wealth and what do you do about all this wealth, and it ends on this almost kind of activist note, so to say. Yeah, almost a sort of activist note as to what you do with all the wealth, and it is a note that I did not like because I don't think it works.
I didn't like it either.
I don't like it because I don't think it works. It's like the final episode was written by a university student who had read some Karl Marx. That's what it felt like to me. So I mean, I'm just gonna say I'll give it probably a 3. I'll give it a 3. I may be back for season 2. I may not be back for season 2. Well, actually, what am I talking about? My 5 months with Apple TV Plus will be up, so I won't be back for season. So,
yeah,
what about you, Holly?
I give it a 3 as well, and I'm not sure I'll be back for season 2. I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I watched it. You say I didn't like the way it ended.
Yeah,
they
don't like the way it ended.
If I'm really bored, then I might watch season 2, but I'm not going to hunt it down. But I'm glad I went back and watched the rest of it.
Yeah, because the way it ends makes me feel like I already know what season 2 is going to be, and I don't think it's going to be good.
Well, I think I'm sort of bored in advance.
Yeah, I'm bored. Right, and now we go back to cinemas for the final thing of a bumper crop this week, and that is The Invitation. Sean, you saw The Invitation. You on your lonesome saw this. Tell us about The Invitation.
Okay, The Invitation. I mean, I didn't really know much about it. I think I might have seen the trailer. I think one or the other. Anyway, so I went to watch this. This is it's an American girl she played Miss Sandy in Game of Thrones. Is it
Natalie Emmanuel?
And I mean, I think she's class. So basically, she decides she's the only one. Her mum's died, and she decides she's going to have this DNA test. You see this DNA test advertised, and then this thing arrives, said, "Oh, I'm one of your cousins from England. Would you like to meet up for?" So she meets this guy who's really convincing, really nice sort of what's the word? Nice but dim.
Tim,
that
nice
sort of real Englishman, like, oh yeah, well you must come and all that. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Well, there's going to be a big wedding at this house. He says, look, I'll pay. You can go business class. You can do this. And she talks with her mate, And she's like, what do you reckon? She says, yeah, what have you got to do? So she jets over to this house, this big Gothic house. Obviously, there's a little thing at the start that says, oh, yeah, he lives in Whitby. You know, it's like this huge mansion house. You know, Whitby? We all know about Whitby. You guys know, what happens in Whitby. You don't know about Whitby? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, perhaps we'll tell you later. Sharon does. So anyway, she goes to this thing and she meets all these different families, all the well-to-do families of everything. And she sort of has this bit of a thing. The chap who owns the house, he's like really, and he's convincing, and you could understand. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a lady, but you could fall for his charm, sort of thing. I could see how she could sort of, someone would think, oh yeah, nice, well-spoken Englishman, quite good looking, blah 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 blah, and obviously
grand fantasy.
Yeah, that type of thing. So, and then it turns into sort of, a bit of a, should we say, I don't know what you call it, Gothic horror or what. But the one thing I will say about this film, okay, that's basically the story. Whitby is the place that a famous character comes from, or arrived when they arrived in this country. Anyway, the one thing I would
be now.
Yeah. The one thing I would say about this is the acting out of the film. The acting was really, really spot on. The acting was really, really convincing. And I thought even the nice but dim character was really, really convincing. And most of the major parts were convincing and the families were convincing. It was all really, really quite interesting. I wouldn't really say it's a horror film. I would say this is more of like a
Gothic.
Gothic, like, because she even says at the beginning, she even says, oh, this is a bit like Jane Eyre, she even says, and that's in the trailer, I think, she says, oh, it's like something out of Jane Eyre. So yeah, and then, but the end feels a little bit rushed and, a little bit, what should we say? I don't know. It was, the ending didn't quite convince me, but I could see what the film was trying to do. It was trying to sort of pay a little bit of a homage to because I mean, the settings are really nice. The drawing room and the locked room, you can't go in there. You've got like the secret passages and things. And, it's very, very, this house is very, very Gothic. And she sort of comes out and she wakes up and she tries to come out and like all the people are lined up and talk. And so there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of, right, where might this go? And then obviously it goes a bit pear-shaped for Natalie. What is it? So it goes a bit pear-shaped for at the end, but she's quite smart. What I liked about this is she's quite smart to some degree. She's quite I would say, and convincingly so, not silly. So, she uses her head, although it doesn't go particularly well sometimes, but she does use her head a little bit in some of the situations she gets into. And she was class. She was brilliant. Absolutely loved her. Yeah. I think she was really, really good. The guy who's like the main villain, should we say, is very, very convincing, and I could understand how someone like that could be really, really persuasive to a lady, especially an American lady who might be suffered a charm. So the acting, I thought the acting was first class. I thought the cinematography was really, really first class. I wouldn't say it was a classic of time. The ending seemed a bit rushed and a bit like, so you had this nice little build up to the ending, and then it sort of fell on its face a little bit. So yeah, I wasn't. Talking of that, yeah. There he is. Whitby.
Oh my God, they're coming to get me. It's bodies. The lights have gone out.
Yeah. That's it.
Quick, grab your phone.
That was well timed, Toes. That was well timed. Because so to sum this up, I would really like the girls to see this film to see what they think, because they might hate it. But
I was intending to see it with you, but I had
that's what I mean.
Another invitation.
So,
I like the sound of it.
Yeah,
knowing the Whitby connection.
Yeah. So
it's okay. I just did a good Google and I know the connection too.
Oh right, okay. Oh yeah.
So anyone listening to this, you go Google and you go Google and then you can be in a Whitby club.
Yeah. So I'm reading the book as it happens, so it's very fresh.
So that's good. So I would if you get a chance. I mean, I don't know if I'd probably see it again because I probably would find it a bit long, but I would like Sharon to get Sharon's take on this, and I don't want to build it up too much because it is,
No.
you know, it could be. But I would just really like to see, well, because I think the acting is first class. And as I say, if it could be like a gothic romance, then
I like a bit of gothic melodrama, so I might.
you'll probably hate it. You're probably going to say that was later rubbish.
I would say, Sean.
Okay. Sure. Two questions. You're talking about you're talking about this woman who gets invited into a big mansion with a whole bunch of people, and then things go wrong, and she has to use her wits about her.
Yes.
This sounds, on the surface, superficially similar to Ready or Not, if you remember that film.
Yes,
I do. Yes.
Would you say is it kind of like similar to Ready or Not, or am I reading too much into that?
No, probably similar, but more serious. More, you know, it's debate. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I can see why you might think that, but probably not quite that much. Too much. No characters, because you know pretty much. You got an idea straight away of who's what and who's what. You can see where it's going. So but. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's question one. Question two, how many stars?
I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 because I'll give it a 3.
3 stars for The Invitation. Although I was just thinking about this. Okay, today we have spoken about, let's have a look at this. We had Bodies. I'm sorry to remind you guys about it, but we had The Invitation. And Sean, you spoke a couple of months ago about a film called All My Friends Hate Me. Which are all coming around about the same time, and all seem to be a group of people stuck in a house. And it makes me wonder, I think these are all COVID movies. COVID movies.
Toast, what? Yes. You could be right.
It just struck me because you have
one location,
you have small cast of characters, one location, easier to handle because of the whole COVID protocols and everything like that. And it made me start thinking, hang on, maybe we should be looking out for this, looking out for films that have been released in the last year or are going to be released now. Maybe now they just finished editing them, and we're going to get a glut of films that have COVID.
Quite a small cast.
Good luck to you, Leo Grand.
Grand, yes.
Good luck to you, Leo Grand. So
this one from the trailer I've seen, Height or whatever it's called, or Flight. Fall. That's it. Yeah, Flight Fall game. Close. That looks like it's probably just got a few people
it looks
in.
like it might be a two-hander. Yeah. So I'm beginning to think. I think these might be COVID movies. These are all movies that they managed to make during the pandemic, and they managed to make it because they could do it, and I thank them for it, because if we're going to get them, and if it's going to make people be a little bit more inventive, and we're going to see the results of that inventiveness now, I'm all for it. So well done to makers of Invitation, but that's just my observation. I reckon they might all be COVID movies. All right, cool. Now we get on to the final thing of our marathon thing today, and this is Wolfwalkers on, of course, Apple TV Plus, because I am trying to make all the way through, get all the way through this. Now, this is a hand-drawn animation film that is made by an Irish thing called Cartoon Station. I believe that's what it's called. They are known for making I think most of the stuff they've done has been hand drawn, but almost everything that they've done has been Oscar nominated, because people say it's quite good, it's quite nice, but it comes from quite an Irish perspective. And over the last couple of weeks, I have told you that when we spoke about Prey, I spoke to you about how I see colonialism everywhere. It's just where my mind is at the moment. I see colonialism everywhere. It wasn't very hard with this film, because this film is about colonialism, but it's about colonialism in Ireland. So I don't know exactly what time period it's set in, but I guess it's probably pre-industrial. But you have this people in an Irish village, and you have the English people who've been sent over, like they call them something like the Grand Master General or something like that, who has been sent over to Ireland, and he's essentially been sent by the King of England. He's in Ireland, and his whole thing is, I'm going to come civilize this place, and I'm going to cut down the forest, and I'm going to build like a town and stuff like that. And that's what he's supposed to do. You have a dad who is played by Sean Bean, and the animation of this, because it's undeniably Sean Bean's voice. When you hear the voice, you go, okay, that's Sean Bean. But even though the animation style of Wolfwalkers is not particularly lifelike, but they have managed to do, in their sort of weird, angular, sort of big-legged, small torso way. It looks like Sean Bean. You're like, oh my god, that does actually look like Sean Bean.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's so he plays the dad, and he has a daughter and his job, he's the Wolf Finder General. That's it, Wolf Finder General, and his job is to go into the forest, catch all the wolves, and get rid of all the wolves, because then they can knock down the wall, they can knock down the forest, and then they can civilize the place. So there were a lot of these things that are triggers for me, quite frankly, that when it, like, the whole colonialism thing of going out there and the whole idea of civilizing this place because these people don't do the things the way we do them back in London. And I was just kind of like, already I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna like this film. Come on, down with the bad English people. But the reason it's called Wolfwalkers is because there is a pack of wolves in this town, in the forest. But it turns out that they're not all just wolves, because there's some people called Wolfwalkers, and I think this might be an Irish myth thing, where it's a mother and a daughter, and when they fall asleep, once they fall asleep in the human form, and then the human form is asleep somewhere, but then a wolf form sort of comes out of the body, and the wolf form sort of like strays around the whole forest at night. So once they're asleep, they're a wolf. When they're awake, they're humans. And this girl who is the Sean Bean character's daughter, I can't remember anybody's names. The Sean Bean's character's daughter, who has been brought over from England. They never really mentioned their mum. I think there's not sure whether her mum is dead or whether her mum is back in England. And she sort of follows her dad around because she just wants to hang out with her dad. And dad is like, no, it's dangerous. Go back home, lass. And all that. And she follows him in there. And then once she gets caught by something, has an altercation with the wolf and gets bitten by the wolf. Then when she falls asleep, she starts finding out that she starts having weird dreams. And she turns out that the Wolfwalkers, if a Wolfwalker bites you, you become a Wolfwalker yourself. And then it becomes this whole thing, which I think is really it becomes an allegory, because there's the whole sort of like, nature versus industrialization. Is it right to cut down forests if you want to build this whole thing? There's the whole colonialism thing, because it's like the Irish versus the English. There's that, and it's I keep wanting to call him Witchfinder General or Lord Master, Grandmaster, whatever he's called, the guy who has been sent over by the king to and he's been given the mandate to civilize this place. He is kind of like a hissable pantomime baddie. It's like, everything he does is like, I'm going to civilize this place. I am going to show you before God and man, and all that. I just sort of think, okay, yeah, he's the hissy bad guy that you're going. And I really, really like this. I think it's really, really good, but I've already told you reasons why. But I think also the animation is done really well. I think the characterization is done quite well. I think the myth of it is actually done, when we're talking about Beast breaking its own rules. I think this has very simple rules, and it just follows them through, and it follows the what would happen if this went along. What would happen if you had these rules and you had somebody coming in from England trying to civilize a whole bunch of Irish people? What would go with that? So I thought it was really, really good. I would give it a 4. Just about give it a 4. Because on one level, it's quite straightforward. It's, I guess, Fern Gully. If you've seen Fern Gully, you've probably seen a bit of this storyline before. There's a bit of it that's a little bit Disney. There's a bit of it that's possibly a little bit like Pocahontas or Beauty and the Beast. Like that, the bones of the story are having done I've done a lot of times. But the telling of the story, and I quite like it, and I like the fact that I feel like they're trying to shine a light on something that happened in Ireland that people might not know, but do it in a sort of like kid-friendly way. So it's a bit subversive, which I kind of like. So I would give Wolfwalkers a 4 out of 5, and I would recommend that everybody with Apple TV 5.1 things go find Wolfwalkers. Although, so Sharon, I said I think you would like it, but also hate it. Hate it because, of course, it's animated and it's your kryptonite, but like it because of the period setting and because of the way that the story is told. And also the Irish connection, because I know your family have some Irish roots.
Yeah, way back. Yeah, way back.
Yeah, cool.
We're talking about 700 years back. But
which is probably when this film was set. So we're all good. So we're all good. So that's it. So we've gone to the end of all of our reviews for this week, for this show. Whew, that was a bit of a
marathon. That one.
It was a bit of a marathon. Who do you think won?
Oh, I think the streaming won it hands down this week.
Yeah, I think there's no contest this week.
I think Bodies has
destroyed it.
Damaged cinema.
Certainly for me and Sharon.
Oh, yeah.
Buddies has claimed another victim, and that all the lights went out, and when the lights came back on, cinema was dead on the floor. So that was it. So yes, you guys are correct. It is obviously.
I guess the thing is, with seeing it at cinema, if you do see a film at cinema, you stay to the end, or we stay to the end. Whereas if you was to see something like that on a streaming platform, it probably would have
given up.
Yeah, you'd probably give it up.
It would probably be like Netflix coming up 3 years later going, hey, do you want to finish watching this?
Yes,
no.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I've got that. Continue watching. You've only watched half of one episode.
Yeah.
No,
how
thank
do you remove them? How do you get them to stop saying that to you?
Oh, you can actually do that.
Oh,
you can actually, you can go, I think, well, I use a Chromecast on TV, and I think if you hold the button down on whatever it is on Netflix, it gives you an option to remove this from your list.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what if it's not on your list? It's just they keep saying, but you watched this. Do you want to finish watching it, even if it's not in your list?
Oh, I don't think you can stop that.
This is like the whole continue watching thing, isn't there? And at one point, my continue watching banned on the screen quite wide because I started watching stuff. And went
no.
I have the same bit. I have a long band of. Do you want to keep watching this? No, I do not want to keep watching this. Stop bothering me. And it's kind of like, when people come around your house and knocking on the door, and you're just trying to hide. You're like, you just pull the curtains and hide down, duck behind the sofa. Eventually, they will go away. So like that. Anyway. Until next week, when we will talk about Mr. Malcolm's List, which is something that we didn't have space for this week, so we pushed it on to next week. And we'll probably talk about Fall, and we'll probably talk about The Forgiven, because I'm expecting Sean to go beast mode and go sniffing out every single thing that's in the cinema that he hasn't seen yet, whether he hates it or not. It's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
And I've just found out how to do it.
Oh, brilliant.